In the heart of God, love abides, and it abides only in the heart of God. And wherever man dwells on earth, he did not find the way to know the heart of God, in which love dwells. And because man did not find the way to know the heart of God, he lives in a world that is without love. I have always shown you why man cannot know who or what God is, means, or represents. And that is because the consciousness of man is distorted. For every way he was told to know himself, he went instead looking to know everything else that exists outside of himself. And wherever man searched for the things that were outside of himself and found them, he found a false consciousness about him, God, and the world. Because he did not recognize that everything that he saw outside of himself originated from within himself. And it is in the absence of this knowledge of self that has led man into so many different errors, that God knew that every way he would walk that way, he would always stray away from God's way. And all men strayed away from God's way because every man sought to know the things outside of himself, but never that which was given within him. In organizing the various organs and structures within man, God wanted man to recognize that he symbolizes the way in which everything that is in the world has been created, so that in understanding the way in which his own internal organization is, he will come to recognize that whatever he is seeing in the world has a specific internal organization too. And it is this specific internal organization that enables man to recognize the differences in the way in which he thinks and he feels and he behaves. Everywhere that man called the word God, he called on something that he did not know anything about. And everywhere that he required God, he never knew that he could not have found that God unless he had first come to know who he is. And there are many things that I have shown man that man still do not understand. That every thought that he has, it has to come from a source. And it is that source that lends itself to the consciousness of man knowing. Because no man can say to you how his thoughts come to him. And no man can also say to you, I know how my feelings come to me. Man would say that I have this feeling or I am experiencing this or that, but he cannot tell you the source of this feeling that he has. And so in every way that I have given man to recognize, there are things that he has been given that has not originated from his own self. He still did not understand what I was telling him. When anyone speaks in tongues, it is the way in which I have shown man that he speaks a language that no one can teach him, neither can he learn by himself. And he speaks a language which he cannot also choose to remember. And so whenever man saw all these things, it did not occur to man that I was saying to man, there is a greatness in you that originates from within you, that instructs the seeing you. And everywhere on earth that man went, he did not understand any of the things that God told man. I am all that you are. And when my children did not know why I call them Israelites, it is because they themselves did not know what the term meant. For you are existing gods of light. Israelites, existing gods of light. But because the children of God did not understand the way in which they are gods, they were never able to discover the lights that are the mights and the powers of God vested in them. They call themselves everything else, but never who they really are. And you must always let my children know that to deny that which is of themselves is to deny the powers associated with who they are. For I heard my children call themselves by all the many earth names that God did not give to them. Because everywhere they went, that they dwelled in, they identified with every part of that which is lesser than themselves. I am an African. I am an American. I am a Trinidadian. I am a Jamaican. You are none of these things. Because you are greater than the things that you associate with. And whenever you associate with anything, you always become like what you associate with. My children have to understand all these things. Because unless they come to the true knowledge of who they are, you cannot come to the way of knowing how you are gods and how you can be gods again. Everywhere they went, they said they did this to us and they did that to us. And God said, no, your greatest error is doing to yourselves what God did not give to you, that caused you to be lesser than those you always accuse of doing things to you. A great man always knows the source of his greatness. And because he knows the source of his greatness, he knows that he is empowered to defend himself against that which comes against him. And these things, my children, must know. Unless you return to being Israelites and not who you think you are never going to attract the forces of greatness back onto yourselves. It is foolish for my children to believe that acquiring the things of this earth would enable them to be great. And that is exactly what so many of my children do. I want to be rich. I want to be wealthy. I want to have this, and I want to have that. And I always remind my children of what I told them. What would it profit you if you gain all these things and you lose them in the end? Because that is always what happens. It does not matter how much of the things you take of this world, you will leave them behind. Because you will go the way of becoming nothing. Because you are nothing. You are nothing without God. And when you know not the way that you are God's, you will never ever be able to be anything other than become nothing. You cannot find the way to God when you have not discovered the way to love in God. For all my injunctions to my children and to the rest of the world was, love ye one another and do ye good. Because love is the key that opens up the doors of the mysteries of God unto you, so that in all the ways you come to know God, you come to recognize the sacred secrets of all creation. No man knows these things, because every man went further and further away from himself. And the further man went away from himself, the more despicable he became in the things that he has done and continues to do. For I have shown mankind that everywhere that a nation says, I am great and mighty and powerful, they have found the most destructive ways of destroying others. That is not greatness. It is the level to which man has sunken that has turned him into a creature before God. And what man does not recognize is that whatever you conceive from yourself and execute in the world, you bring it back onto yourselves. For everything that originates from man as source returns back onto man as its source. When I said to man, you have eyes, but you do not see, I am showing man that every seed from every fruit returns back to the fruit from whence it came. It doesn't matter where you take it, it will return to being the fruit from whence it came. And so man has not understood that every action of his from him is a seed that he has sent forth into the world. And every seed that goes forth grows into a tree that bears fruits in abundance. And that is why the world has always increased in terms of the violence and the corruption and the turmoil that man experiences in the suffering that comes to man. You cannot reap what you have not sown. And if you sow not love, you cannot reap love. And everywhere I said unto my children, you are your brothers and sisters, keepers. I say to them, reach out in love, enfold each other in love, do good for each other. For in so doing, you are always going to reignite the greatness in each and every one. And in the summary greatness, you have become a great people again. You can become a great people when you are not working in the lights of God. For unless my children know that there are interconnecting links that would have enabled them to be strengthened in this chain of God's greatness, they cannot be great. For everyone knows a chain is as strong as its weakest link. There can be no weak link in the way in which you interconnect with each other, uplifting each other, and doing good for each other. My children have allowed the seen things of the world to interfere with their spiritual development. And because their spiritual development has been retarded, the children have never been able to overcome that which was given to them from the evil of evildoers on earth. In every way I say unto you, you say unto them, turn away from these ways. Turn away from these ways. These are not God's ways to you. These are not the godly ways that you were given. These are not the ways that had enabled you to be so great and mighty a people that you were able to transform a valley into a paradise. These are not the ways. You must forsake these ways. You must turn away from these ways. For it is the only way that you will find a way back to knowing who you are and discovering the greatness that lies within you. These things I have given unto you to teach and to preach. For every way that my judgment is in the world today and will affect everyone in the world today, let my children know that unless they do the things that I have given unto you to tell them to do, they too will suffer the fate of every heathen and Hebrew and Gentile. For I am not a respecter of persons. I am not a respecter of man. And so wherever my judgment is given, I will judge them according to the deeds that they have done. Those who hear and believe, them will I pardon, so that in all the ways that I send forth from me that which goes to the Spirit in them, so will I enable them to find a path back to righteousness. It is finished. This world is finished. And it really doesn't matter who believes what. I, the Lord thy God, have decreed that it is finished. Alamana koro safarigitisi oshla haride oshomakotakleida. Inamarkada safarakudonde eshipirakatan sakonon korum deika. Alabarakada safarikton gorekinenta grosabarakatkadisi ala alcrosacrentikaratundo on grongrange sacarandondo desi. I bring everything to rubble. I show everyone the way in which I exist as God Almighty, and I show my own children that in all the ways I came like you and walked among them, they did not know who I am, as they do not know who you are. I am that I am that I am. And every way that I am, so are you. That in going forward in all the ways I send you to teach and to preach. So when my children come to the true consciousness of the way that God exists as they exist. It is finished.